Ladies and gentlemen, former President, the late Daniel Tretich Arap Moi, once said something, a phrase which has ring lively in our mind up to date. Siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya, which means bad politics affects our lives on a negative way. Moi was known as the professor of politics. He will go on record as a man who ruled this country for 24 years, and he will remain the longest under this constitution. But I want to say something which might be true or cannot be true, but it will be subject for confirmation. Time will be the judge. A lot of things happens in the arena of politics, which we call the political dynamics. And in Kenya here, there are some very unique political activities which even leave the citizens uncertain about their tomorrow. Allow me to say about 2027 presidential election. And to talk about it, let's assume, this is just an assumption, that the MOU between Raila and Ruto lasts until 2027, and they decide to go into election that way, as many people have now concluded. What if they agree? How will that lineup look like? Who will take what? Because in yesterday's MOU, there was nothing like power sharing. But I don't want to go into power sharing. I just want to go into hurdles that Ruto and Raila will face before or during that 2027 general election, and what they must do to pave a smooth sailing for them. And there are 4 or 5 points that I want to build on my analysis today. The first thing, as I was speaking to one of my friends and discussing a little of Kenyan politics and what politics is all about, and we looked also into 2027, how the politics of this country will be like. And we assume that political map was drawn yesterday. And first thing, we agreed that the Gen Z's factor will come to play. Number 2, the issue of taxation will also take center stage during the campaigns. The third thing, which must also be on that arrangement, and each political formation must consider, is the issue of voter registration, voter turnout. That must also be checked into, because politics is a game of numbers. Number 4 is the issue of the regions, the tribal arrangement that will also play part in the coming election. And when I talk about the issue of employment, the tax, that is the pay slip. And we agreed that if the issue of taxation was to be taken seriously and with the weight which is being given now, then Ruto will find it tough. He will have hard time to explain to Kenyans how he came up with the issue of house levy, with the issue of new new social health tariffs, the increment, how he decided to increase the NSSF, which many people complain that even after your retirement, it is not easy to claim. The payslip holders might gang up against Ruto if they were to vote without considering their tribes or their ethnic alignment. That Ruto must also check on, or else this team will also contribute into the basket that will bring him home. The second thing is the issue of the youths, known as these Gen Zs. They will constitute a large number of voters come 2027 if they were to carry on with what they started in the year 2024 to oust Ruto from power, and they decide to do it on ballot, and they go with the same principles they had, no tribe, no party, then Ruto must also check on this, or else these youths will send him home in a very formal way. The issue of tribal and ethnic arithmetics is also at play. When Gema, which is the largest voting bloc in this country, decides to withdraw from William Ruto that 4 million votes or 3 million votes that they gave him and channel it in a block behind a certain candidate which opposition will agree on, then this will give Ruto a run of his money. And therefore, he must find a way in which Gema will not vote as a block, or they vote on his favor. If Ruto will not handle the issue of Gema very carefully, then these Gema votes will send him home, combined with others like the Kambas, if they were to remain together. Because I asked a friend of mine whom we were discussing politics with, don't you think that Professor Kithure Kindiki is capable of winning a chunk of votes to Ruto's basket in 2027, I mean? And we assume that the Embu, the Mary, and the Tharakas vote in favor of William Ruto. Then he told me that what is going on now is that they have just given Kindiki a courtesy for them to reap from this government, and that in the fullness of time, William Ruto will go home. Let's assume that is true. The fourth thing is the Raila Odinga's followers and traditional vote-rich Nyanza, Western, Coastal, North Rift, South Rift, and part of Nairobi that have been voting for Raila might experience low voter turnout because Raila will not be on the ballot. And once this happens, the anticipation that Raila's 6 million votes will go to Ruto might be a dream, and this could cause a nightmare. I'm just mentioning areas where I feel that Ruto must work on, and if he doesn't, it will create a recipe that will send him home very easily come 2027. The last thing which we must also agree is the issue of swing votes. There are areas in this country which you cannot claim to be somebody's stronghold, even though they have been voting in a certain way. But any person can get a good number of votes from that or those areas. Take, for example, parts of Western Kenya, that is Kakamega, Bungoma, and Trans Nzoia. Depending on how they arrange themselves, one is very easy to get votes, even though Raila has been enjoying massive support. But his competitors have also been getting some good number of votes, Muson presidential votes from Kakamega, Bungoma, and Trans Nzoia. So those cannot be said that they are Raila's stronghold. Raila controls Busia, Vihiga, and Kakamega, part of it, but the other part of votes normally go to his opponent. Kisses also votes that way. Some parts like Nyamira might go to Raila's opponent, but he always win the presidential votes, but not double the opponent's votes. He must be very careful. Nairobi is always 50 or 60-40. Those are areas which, if Ruto doesn't work on the pledges he gave, the promises during campaigns, and these agendas that they signed in the MOU yesterday, like NADCO report, strengthening devolution, equity, blah, 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 to properly utilizing national resources, then he will lose the swing votes. And if he tries to change from today onwards, the swing votes might swing on his side. They might reconsider. So at the moment, the ground is still hostile, but Ruto still stand a chance. And if he doesn't change, he will go home very easily if these 5 things were to go as we have anticipated. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and may God bless you.